It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts, Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome into another Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. Joining me as always, Alan Saunders. Alan, how are we doing?
Wonderful.
If I saw a comment literally right before we started recording that mentioned how the way that I say welcome sometimes will come out like Stewie saying Cool Whip in Family Guy.
Why do you say it like that?
Like what? But anyways, I figured that'd be a fun way to start today's show. Going to be a lot of questions that we're answering on this episode, Alan, which kind of plays in today's theme because if you are an SN Plus subscriber, we'll be doing a live stream pretty much directly after this with Derek Bell from the site as well. If you guys are watching or listening to this, I would join in on the live stream if you have the ability to do so. If you are an SN Plus subscriber, and then come back and watch this after. Which, by the way, speaking of SN Plus subscribers, Alan, you had me update the list here at the bottom scrolling ticker. We got like five new ones since just this
apparently
morning.
The live stream is popular apparently, so yeah, five new ones. So they're down there at the bottom. Yeah, awesome to see, man. So
shout out to
if we get good participation, we will definitely keep doing this because it seems like the people like it.
Big shout out to Jason Jones, Chris Ines. However, you can correct me.
Innes. I'm going with Innes.
Okay. Mike Diaz, Leighton Jennings, and Kyle Brenza for subscribing to SN Plus. We appreciate you guys. You can tell us all in the comments, by the way, and everybody else, how much you enjoy the ad-free experience after you get to experience it. So
yeah,
let us know.
It is great
on that. Anyways, we got more YouTube stuff, obviously, than just the overemphasis of the W's that I have. The first thing that I'm scrolling through here, I'm just gonna literally
before we get to the questions. I know we've talked about this topic a good bit, but some reporting out there today that from Jordan Schultz that says the Steelers have made some calls in addition to just taking some calls about George Pickens. Wanted to touch base on that and just say that doesn't surprise me. I wouldn't think it means something is imminent. It has always been a possibility, but I know people are going to see that and going to want to know what's going on. So I figured we should address that. And then Derrick Harmon. I think we've mentioned this before, but Mike Garafolo said that his medical issue that has some people hesitating about him is a shoulder injury. Derrick Harmon's really interesting because I think the league is a lot lower on him than the Steelers are. I think he's a player that the Steelers could trade back from 21 and still get pretty far down the board. And I think if the Steelers had their pick of defensive lineman at 21, he might be their favorite.
Yeah. From everything that I've heard, I would kind of agree with that. The one thing that I'll say is you're saying Steelers. I specifically think teams in the AFC North view him higher. That's where I kind of think the range for him starts at 17 to the Bengals. Not predicting that that's going to be the direction that they go. But I could also see the Ravens really liking him too. Although, I think they need to go edge or offensive tackle. But just liking the player, I think the teams in the AFC North covet him probably more than the rest of the league. Interesting though, the shoulder thing. I know that it had been put out there before because otherwise I would really question this. Anything that you hear the last 48 hours really leading up to the draft, you can typically going to be BS. But with something like this that had been reported before, I don't know. I mean, how much could something like this impact a slide? We've seen it in the past not make a difference. We've seen it make a massive difference. Because we obviously don't have the medicals in front of us. We don't know. But what's the comfort level, I wonder?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen under Omar Khan the Steelers be unbothered by this concept over and over again. They have not been the team that has shied away from a player with some injury concerns. So I wouldn't think it'll impact the Steelers liking him very much, but it could be a reason. It could be why I've been getting the sense that the league is a little bit lower on him than the Steelers are.
Yeah. As far as the Pickens thing, I floated out there that I thought maybe Dallas was because Jerry Jones coming out and saying that they were working on a couple things and they have picked 44, which to me would seem pretty rich. Like, I think that's something you really got to think about from the Steelers' perspective there. That is and again, from a football perspective, it's not like this is about them wanting to get in front of what they think is coming down the road when they don't pay him, in my opinion. Because I think in an ideal scenario for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're able to play out this entire year with him on their roster and then see where that takes them. Maybe he's a model citizen for all of the season and has a fantastic season. They're like, you know what? Maybe with the direction that we are going, maybe we can afford to pay 2 receivers and reward you for the season that we had. Or they're able to use him as their own rental when they end up getting a comp pick the following season after he signs somewhere else. But I think that having the foresight, seeing what's coming down the pipeline, know what's going to happen this summer when he doesn't get paid. That's just the way that I'm personally taking it.
Yeah, I don't think it's a move that they could make and improve the team. I think it's a move they could make and cut their losses ahead of time, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the part of that, the reason that I say that is if they were just taking call, and this is assuming that they're also calling other teams doing so. It's one thing to take calls, in my opinion, but to be calling other teams, I'm not saying that they're actively going out there shopping him or whatever. They're just probably doing due diligence, trying to figure out what his value is. But if they were so hell bent on this guy being on the 2025 roster, I'm not sure that they even do that.
I guarantee they're not taking or making calls about TJ Watt.
Yeah,
I'll just say that. Who's in the same contract boat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, one more piece of news here. Well, actually, it's 2. Reported by Diana Rossini that the Steelers have not heard from Aaron Rodgers since he was on the Pat McAfee show a week ago. And also Snoop Dogg says, sign with the Steelers or go kick rocks. What do you make of Snoop inserting himself into the Steelers quarterback situation? And do you care that the Steelers haven't heard from Aaron Rodgers in a week?
I mean, we're at the point now where I said this is kind of to me, it would be right before the draft, or I'm kind of out on the idea of it. We are right at the draft. And I understand, from a team perspective, there's not a better option for who's going to be their starting quarterback in 2025. If they feel comfortable about what he has told them, the reason that he's not making this decision right now is whatever, that's on them. But from a fan perspective, I don't want to sit around and wait anymore. Like I said, the Monday before the draft, we're past that at this point. So I personally just want them to move on, but I understand why they're not.
I think if they pick Shedeur Sanders, it's pretty much over.
Okay.
I'm not saying that the Steelers would stop pursuing him. But if he is going back to the Devontae Adams story from Mike Silver earlier this week, if he's feeling like they're not committed enough to him now, what's it going to be like with a first-round quarterback in the mix as well? So, I
might have some role reversal where it's him them pursuing them.
Yeah,
really which I don't think would happen. But.
No, I don't. So I think if it's Shedeur Sanders, it's over. I don't see it. If they don't pick Sanders, I think they'll continue to pursue him and eventually get a deal done. The other, I guess, thing dropped today from Diana was the Steelers talking to the Falcons about Kirk Cousins. I don't know how seriously. I think of all the ideas of the ways the Steelers could add to their quarterback room, that might be the least interesting to me of them all. He was pretty awful last year. I don't know.
It's probably not going to be much, but giving up some asset to do so as well, paying $10 million, right? That was the number that we had talked about. Probably. So the Falcons could pay the rest of that down or whatever. But I
don't see Mike Tomlin wanting, 16 interceptions. Mason can do that.
Yeah, I was just saying, what's the difference in this version of Kirk? The ball just looks dead coming out of his hand. What's the difference in this version of Kirk Cousins to Mason Rudolph?
And unlike Aaron Rodgers, who got better as the season went on, Kirk Cousins fell apart after he returned early from his the same injury. I just,
I know our friend in the YouTube comments, Jamie, will be very happy with me saying that I'd rather have Mason Rudolph as the team's starting quarterback than Kirk Cousins.
Is that a segue?
They would rather have Mason Rudolph, I think, over like anybody maybe that exists. But really, Jamie, actually, I saw this pop up, and I don't remember exactly how to get to it now, but I'll figure it out because I want to give them a shout out, people that are at the top here. Like, by far, the most comments on this YouTube channel.
Oh,
by far.
I didn't know we could track that.
Exactly. I saw it one time, and I'm like, how do I get back to this? So I got to figure out exactly where to find that again. But yeah, they wanted us to. I don't know if they're going to get an entire podcast out of this, but they said do a podcast what it looks like for if Mason Rudolph is able to do these things: 35 touchdowns to 9 interception ratio through the entire season, wins a playoff game. Will the Steelers and Tomlin cannot develop a quarterback conversation continue if that's the case?
Mason Rudolph has 28 touchdowns in 29 career games. And even if you want to discount his appearances as a backup, he has 28 touchdowns in 18 career starts. So the idea of him throwing 35 over the course of a 17-game series or a 17-game season and only having 9 interceptions, he has 20 interceptions. I mean, if it happens, then great. The Steelers are probably winning the AFC North, but I don't see it.
That is a much larger number than I think the total would be set at for Mason Rudolph. Like, hey, if you have that much faith in Mason, if you can find that number somewhere, please make a bet on that because you'll be a very rich person if it happens. So if you have that type of faith, go ahead and do it. Would you say 29 touchdowns in 28 games?
Yes.
So that's like a 0.96 touchdown, which would be like he'd have like 16 touchdown passes over a 17-game season.
Yeah. So the Steelers combined for 499 attempts last season between Wilson and Fields, and one each for Kyle Allen and Miles Killebrew. And Rudolph has 686 in his career. So you should be looking at a little over half of Rudolph's career numbers. So, I mean, if I'm setting a gambling line here, I'm going to say 15 touchdowns, 12 interceptions.
I said, hey, 16. I would 16 and 10. If Mason Rudolph is the starter for the entire season this year,
I think you'd take 16 and 10.
16 and 10 is my.
Also, the idea of Mason Rudolph being the starter for the entire season feels pretty far-fetched.
Yeah, okay, but let's play into this scenario.
That part of it feels far-fetched, let alone the other parts of it.
So that was one. Say that stat line happens, which does seem far-fetched, but let's play along with this scenario here, and say that happens, and then the Steelers win a playoff game. Do you think that changed the conversation?
The Steelers can win a playoff game with Mason Rudolph without him having a stat line anywhere near that good. That's not far-fetched at all. I think the Steelers have had some bad luck when it comes to their playoff opponents lately. Like they've been one and done 3 years in a row. They've been big underdogs 3 years in a row going into the playoffs. Like road wildcard teams are not usually consistently that big of an underdog. Usually you're playing a team that is much more closely matched with you. Like if Mason Rudolph just played a little bit better, they could have beat the Bills. Him winning a playoff game is not far-fetched at all. It is far less far-fetched than the first thing.
Sure. But, all right, so let's talk about what the overarching topic of that is in terms of the Steelers' ability to develop a quarterback, because I think that's a big question. I think that's why, not only along with just how people feel about this draft class, but like the trepidation in terms of them drafting a quarterback, because a lot of people just feel like this isn't the spot. We don't have the coaching staff that you would want to have in place to do so.
Yeah. I don't think Mason Rudolph would really good or bad is going to factor into my feelings about the Steelers' abilities to develop a quarterback. You're not developing. He's 28, 29. You're not developing Mason Rudolph at this point.
Mason Rudolph would be, what age did Geno Smith Like, was he was probably already 30 though, right? 30, 31.
Yes.
When he
He was 32, I think, when he started his first season in Seattle.
Okay.
Sam Darnold, probably a better age comp for Mason, was 27 last year.
Mm-hmm.
Mason is 28.
Mm-hmm. And again, like,
will be
so
30.
You can say they did the right things in terms of, putting them in a situation to succeed and stuff like that. But I think that's probably different, than quarterback development. Because I agree.
Yeah, we'll see if the Vikings actually developed Sam Darnold or not. We'll see if this. I mean, yeah, I think we can give the Seahawks credit for developing Geno Smith. I think that's fair. He did it because he did it for a long time, and that's the same staff that had developed Russell Wilson from a mid-round pick, from a not a first-round pick to a Super Bowl winner. So, like, there's a pattern there, right?
Yeah. I mean, hey, if Mason has 35 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, I'll give everybody their flowers in the organization. I don't even care. Like, people on the
Arthur Smith for
Water Boy, great job. Everybody pressed the right buttons if that was the case. The one thing that I want to say in regards to, the development of quarterbacks that I took away positively from last year, not only we've talked about Justin Fields not turning the football over and stuff like that being a positive development in his, progression as a player. But the other part of it, which is like, I don't want to say it whatever. I wasn't like necessarily upset about them not continuing forward with Justin Fields. But the one thing that I'd be really curious about this year, I thought they did some good things like with the lower half mechanics, like the footwork as well, that I would have been curious about, like, would that have continued to trend in the right direction? Because his footwork was a mess too. And I thought they did some interesting things to clean that up. Just in one season, there was quite a turnaround there. So I do want to give them credit for that in terms of identifying a weakness with a quarterback and being able to, at least for, in my opinion, one season, potentially going forward, they were able to identify that and put the work in to help him clean that up a little bit. Now, I don't know, how that plays into the big picture here in terms of their quarterback development, but I do think that they deserve some credit for their work with Justin Fields.
Yeah, I think so. And like Ryan Tannehill, right? If you want to look like Ryan Tannehill was a huge draft bust before he got to Tennessee, and Arthur Smith he never turned him into a star, but he turned him into a playable NFL quarterback. But that's different than what the job would be if you're talking about drafting Shedeur Sanders in the first round. Getting playable out of a failed former top pick, which is what he did with Tannehill, and it's kind of what he did with Fields, is different than successfully developing a player you take in the first round with the idea that he can be something approaching a franchise quarterback. I think those are two different jobs.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, I don't think that you got to have the faith in your own staff to be able to develop that guy. They're not sitting there thinking we don't have the guys in place to do so. And they got to continue to throw those darts, certainly no pun intended. That's not the player that I want with quarterbacks, but I that's why there's some trepidation, I think, along with just that general feel about how good the quarterback class is from a lot of the fan base. It's just something else that we can check off real quick here. Randy Tobias said, I'm disappointed with Smitty. Where's our report of how the Easter egg hunt went? So, yeah, I had 50 eggs at my house hidden for my nieces and nephew last Friday, 6 of which were golden eggs that had money in them. So each of the kids got 2 of those for sure. And then the rest were completely up for grabs with candy. I think it was 20. I think my 10-year-old niece got 28 and my 8-year-old nephew got 20. Yeah. And then everybody got golden eggs. So 50 total eggs hidden. There you go, Randy. It was a lot of fun, by the way. Varzak here said, I worry about the left tackle position. If Broderick struggles, we have nobody to come in. I think we need to trade down no matter what positional run happens. That way you could get Howard and a DT or OT or even wide receiver. OT can't come later than the 3rd round. I like Dart, but in a trade down the bottom 5 of the first, seeing Kelvin Banks still being on the board at 21 in some mocks, they better love Broderick. If Banks is there Thursday, that would be hard to pass up.
I can't get down with giving up on one of their tackles already. I just and using a tackle that high, using a pick on a tackle that highly is giving up on one of their tackles already.
Do you think they could play Banks at guard?
Yeah, now Banks is
And
like
then,
a swingy player. You
Yeah.
could draft Banks to be a guard and say, well, if Broderick Jones bombs at left tackle, then maybe we can reevaluate that and play Banks at tackle. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the idea to just straight up replace one of the tackles in the first round, I can't get on board with. But if it's somebody with position versatility, and you're saying, hey, let's upgrade on Mason McCormick, you only got 1 year left of Sayamalo, like we'll figure this out and just give me the best player that you can along the offense. Like, this is very, to me, this line of thinking of just continuing to add to the trenches, it feels Eaglesy, certainly at the same time, but and not at the cost of, giving up on Broderick Jones or Troy Fautanu. He didn't mention Fautanu in here. I'm just adding him to the conversation as well, because I know people are low on him just because he wasn't able to play last year. So, Will Bates says, what I really don't get is if Tomlin recognizes that nose tackle was basically non-existent, how does he not realize that a nickel was basically a starter? It's a good question.
This is a great question, and something that I think is a real coherent criticism of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I want to kind of go back to my conversation with Mike Tomlin yesterday, because I'm not sure we talked about this. So they had showed all this interest in safety during the draft, right? They brought in Nick Manwari. They also brought in Donovan Milne from Pitt. They saw at pro days Andrew Makuba at Texas. They had TA running the drills for Malachi Starks at Georgia. Xavier Watts at Notre Dame. Is there one more? There's a lot of safeties in their pre-draft process. I can check the big board real quick. And so I was trying to sort of resolve that interest and ask Mike Tomlin if, he sees the 3 safety packages like, a third starter really. And, I said, DeMonte Casey's a free agent. He said, yeah, we signed Juan Thornhill. So
yeah.
The follow-up questions like, so what the hell are you doing with all these safeties in the draft? I didn't think I was going to get an answer to that question, so I just kind of left it. But Juan Thornhill's a perfectly fine third safety. Like, there's no problem with that being the move there. But it doesn't resolve their interest in safety in the draft. And they've shown almost no interest in slot corners. Like, anyone that looks like a slot corner specifically has not really been on the radar. I'm trying to think of even one that they've shown significant interest. Justin Wally from Minnesota. It was like a 7th rounder, 6th rounder.
You could play Barron there, right? I mean,
who's that?
Jahdae Barron.
Barron, yeah. I mean, I don't think they're going to take him, but sure, Jahdae Barron would be a slot. But like lots of like Jacob Parrish from Kansas State, Denzel Burke from Ohio State, Upton Stout from Western Kentucky. Like, these guys are like, yes, slot receiver or slot corner, and they didn't really show a lot of interest in that group. So I think this is a real coherent critique of the way the Steelers do business, is that if you're going to say the nose tackle is dying and you don't need a nose tackle, which the Steelers don't really, you do need a nickel corner that can be a starter. And they've kind of treated that position like it doesn't matter also, which is a bit inconsistent.
Yeah, like, even for as good as Mike Hilton was for them, like, from a financial perspective, it's not like they ever committed big dollars there or, a high draft pick. And then since then, it's just been like year-by-year Band-Aids.
That's the most they've ever invested.
Yeah. Like, and then it's just been like year-by-year Band-Aids really being put on the position. And, even if you like a player, you feel like it's a contributor, like, Beanie Bishop, the return on investment for a UDFA, certainly you can feel good about and stuff like that. But like, this is a starting position in the NFL. Like, with how many times teams play 3 wide receivers, like, that's a starting position in that nickel. So with what you were saying about safeties, though, is that kind of what you were getting at, was maybe they're looking at a slot capable safety, or like Minka or Deshaun Elliott in that role, as opposed to a corner, or like not even something on the radar in general?
Maybe. I don't know. I was just trying to figure. Just trying to figure it out, right? I can't resolve the interest in safety any other way. So maybe that's it. But then Mike Tomlin's pretty definitive that Juan Thornhill's the third safety.
Yeah.
So okay, then what do you need Nick Manwari for?
I don't know. That's why, certainly not necessarily the direction that I want him. It'd be funny if they drafted him, and then the questions that you could ask him afterwards to be like, hey, so what's up with Juan Thornhill, or anything. This is, but yeah. Anyways, we'll see how that plays out. Good news is we don't have much time to go before we'll find out some answers there in terms of the interest that they've shown in safeties. Stick with me on this name here for this user. Their name is literally at user-dn2rn8nd1u. Said, thanks for all the work you do. Do you know if, or have you heard of any teams using AI to assist in their what if scenarios?
Did an AI type this question? Is that why? Is that why the username is what it is?
Yeah, this is a Chat GPT question.
Yeah. No, I've not heard of any. I mean, the NFL has this kind of pseudo AI tool that is on their Next Gen Stats website. I've not heard of any teams using AI in their draft process. It's an interesting question.
Did you see the Chat GPT mock draft that got put up by I don't know.
It was pretty awful, wasn't it?
Shedeur Sanders was taken twice.
My thing about AI is that it's not good enough. This is a $1 billion industry. No one is trusting any part of their future process to a bad algorithm.
Yeah. Kool-Aid McKinstry, who's already in the NFL, was drafted.
It really sucks for him.
He's got to reset that rookie clock contract all over again. This is very pertinent, so we better answer this before the draft gets here. This is also from Randy. Hi, Alan. Thanks for the great content as always. Who makes final decisions when it comes to drafting, or is it more of a committee approach? Does the committee raise pros and cons, and Con makes final decision? Does Tomlin get to override a pick with someone he prefers?
I love this question because there's no real answer to it. The Steelers do operate by committee. Art Rooney has the final say on every pick. He doesn't use that power very often. I would say that in general, not always, but in general, if you're talking about a decision that involves the big picture direction of the team or the draft strategy, player value concerns, that's going to be an Omar decision. So, should the Steelers have running back on the board in the first round? Yes or no? That, to me, that's an Omar decision, right? Because it's not about how good the player is. It's all about how the money works, the cap, the contract value, and the surplus value provided by a rookie contract. That's not Mike Tomlin's lane, right? If it's, do the Steelers want Walter Nolan or Derrick Harmon? I feel like that's a Mike Tomlin decision. What's it to Omar if he prefers one or the other? He's not a scout. He's not going to and so I think just because their skill sets are different, hey, Art Rooney might get involved if the question is, hey, the Steelers want to draft. I don't really think there is anyone with just bad character concerns in this draft, but someone, Mike Green in the first round has some pretty serious allegations against him. Hey, is this okay? Are you on board with us making this guy a part of our team? That's an Art Rooney decision. And so I think they all have their own lanes. I don't think they're going to make a pick that they can't all get on board with. So they're going to talk this process out as they build that board. Andy Weidel has some say as well, as well as the rest of the scouting department and the rest of the coaches. They're all involved in this process too. And so it's not, no one's really, I don't think, overruling anyone. I just think people have decisions where they are more in a position to make than some others.
And this is the last thing that just kind of a continuation of that, because I know, we've talked about the big change really being from going to Kevin to Omar, is Omar better understanding like the value within the draft and like really placing appropriate value on getting players, like whether those picks are going to pan out or not. You can look in real time and say like that on the surface, he got good value at that spot, time of taking that player, where with Kevin, it would seem like they were just trying to take the best player, value be damned. What other change, if at all, have you seen take place going from Kevin to Omar, at least in regards to like that collaboration? Like how much different was it prior to, do you think, to where it is now?
I think the addition of Andy into the mix is because Kevin was a scout and he was doing a lot of his own scouting. And I think the general manager being a little bit removed from that process has almost like added another voice to the mix. And I think that's helpful as well. So now you sort of have like the scout's opinion, the accounting opinion, the coaching opinion, the ownership opinion, all sort of working together. And I think like you're kind of missing that part of it, because I think Kevin just viewed things through a scout's lens more. And certainly Omar was involved in the draft process before, but I would say like to a significantly lesser degree than Andy has been involved. So like you almost kind of like added a bonus executive by the way they're doing it now.
Which I'm all for. Definitely nice to add a bonus executive. Maybe they could add, a bonus senior defensive assistant or, something like that on field. I'm just going to keep throwing that in there until it happens. But all right, good stuff. We got to get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow for a pre-draft episode of this, shortly before the draft. Alan, what's the game plan for tomorrow?
I don't know. I may be. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
All right, we always do, even when it is.
I don't know if I'm going to. I'm either going to be at the South Side already, or maybe maybe I'll be making my afternoon drive inbound this time.
Okay. All right. Well, certainly we'll have one of these. Then I will be live.
Also, tomorrow morning's morning rush will be me breaking down my final and only really. I mean, I did one earlier, but I've done some Steelers mocks, but I will be doing a full first round, actually full first 3 rounds mock draft. And I will be discussing that on Morning Rush. So stay tuned for that.
There we go. And then, tomorrow night, first round of the NFL draft, I will be live on this YouTube channel as well as my Around the 412. We got a bunch of giveaways that we're going to be doing. DK Metcalf jersey, some shirts from my sponsor over there, Game Changers, and one prize that only Alan and my co-host of Around the 412, Tyler, know about. That's it. Those are the only 2 people that know what this giveaway is. So be here. So be here for that. If you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, you will know exactly when we go live. But we always start way too early. This year, we're starting literally when the draft starts. So we'll be here at 8 p.m. because we know that first pick it can be made to like 8:20. So 8 p.m. we'll be live right here on this YouTube channel. But Alan, until tomorrow's morning rush doing your mock draft, tell the people they can find you.
At @Saunders_PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now is the site's account. SteelersNow.com. Go there, read the word, sign up for SN Plus. It's not too late. If you sign up right now, well, actually, it is too late. If you're listening to this, too late. But we'll have archived the live chat with our subscribers, and you'll also get that ad-free reading experience over at SN, which is awesome. And like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications here on the YouTube platform. That won't help you tonight, but it will help you not miss an episode of Steelers Morning Rush, Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm sure we're gonna have lots of videos coming out of the South Side over the next couple of days. We're at 15,500 and DJ Johnson, which is a great pull for me. 44 Steelers cornerback who played in the late 80s and early 90s.
Listen. I was worried I was going to have to default to Derek Watt on this, but I don't. Najee Davenport.
That's excellent as well. That's excellent as well. For 40, the number, I think we can agree 40s are bad football numbers. 44 is a good number that not that many people wear.
You think Tyler Warren's going to stick with it?
I don't know. He should.
I mean, if he goes to the Colts, I don't know if they're going to let him, right?
Yeah, is Dallas
Clark's number retired? Oh, is it retired? I thought it was. I was wondering if it was unofficially, or like he wouldn't be able to. I didn't know they officially retired it, but okay.
I don't know.
Anyways, all right. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Hit us in the comments with your thoughts on anything that we talked about today. Certainly, still go subscribe to SN Plus because we're gonna be doing more of those in the future. So don't miss out on future ones, even if you missed out on this one being live. If you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast from, be sure to leave a 5-star review and subscribe over there. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing over on TikTok, and then you'll find me everywhere. Zachary Smith, PGH, for Alan Saunders, and myself. Thanks for jumping in. Take another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.